In this video, I am talking about one of the common legal disputes in small business, and it's about not having things in writing. And what I'm talking about now is the perspective of terms and conditions. So you're offering goods or services, and you want to let people know what the deal is. This is different from collaboration, because when you collaborate with somebody, which I've dealt with in a different video, pretty much you negotiate and you agree how it's going to go. When it comes to terms and conditions, you decide how it's going to work. Now, I have met some clients who are hesitant about putting terms and conditions together because they say, oh, I trust my clients and my clients trust me and it'll all be fine. Honestly, that is a recipe for disaster. And I think it's actually more respectful to your clients to have terms and conditions and explain to them, this is the deal, this is how I work, this is how I operate. These are my expectations of you. And so when you're thinking about doing terms and conditions, you need to think about what your obligations are. So what's your client going to get for their money? Is it an online course? Is it ongoing support? Is it a physical product? Be careful of putting forward warranties or guarantees on physical products in excess of what you need to by law, because you might find yourself liable when you don't need to be liable. For example, you might say, I guarantee it will reach you in good order, but then, the courier drops it and breaks it, and then it's not your fault, but you still have to replace it because you've said that. So think about what it is that you're offering and be quite clear about that. Now, I have a client who is a business coach, and what she offered was, well, she had a few things. One of the things that she has is an online resource, which is, I suppose, a library of videos, which has got historic teachings that she's done, conferences that she's presented at, and all of this information and very useful information to do with networking and social media. And she gathered all of this together and she's got it in a library. And so she was offering this to her clients as a sort of a bonus. Her main thing really was the face-to-face teaching, and also one-to-one video conference that she would have with them occasionally. So the problem that she had when she said to her clients, these are all of the things that you're getting from me, this video bank of things, the one-to-one, and you come to my my workshops, which are held 3 or 4 times a year. So on a couple of occasions, she had a client sign up, come to her workshops, do her one-to-one session, and then decide, well, they didn't really want to continue, and so then the client wanted to stop paying. But my client had the idea that the whole thing would be like a 12-month program, a 12-month process. So people could drop in and out of her workshops. They would have the one-to-one online with her. And then as a bonus, they could access the library. And when people had been to the one-to-one session and been to the workshops, my client said, well, that's the main value that people have got out of it. That I don't want them to cancel now. And so we brainstormed a little bit and realized, oh, another example of that kind of thing is one of my clients. Well, I've actually got several clients who sell pet food, homemade pet food. Well, they start off making it at home, and then they've progressed into making little mini factories. And the one lady, she had an issue. Well, when we brainstormed her terms and conditions, I said to her, think about the terms and conditions as a way to really engage your customer, tell them something about your values and how much you value them and how much you can offer them. And so I brainstormed with her and said to her, look, one of the difficulties that I have when I change pet food brands is that I'm always worried that my dog won't eat the new brand. And in fact, I said to her, I'll buy a bag of your food, but my dog is really fussy. He's the fussiest eater I've ever come across, and he might not like it. And I don't want to spend lots of money on something that he might not like. And she said, oh, but I offer a refund anyway if your dog doesn't like it. And I said to her, that's the kind of thing in the terms. If you're doing it anyway, you might as well use your terms and conditions to highlight how generous you are. So then we brainstormed a little bit more, and I asked her, well, what actually would be the situation, or how would you deal with it if, say, somebody's in a different state? And that's all very well and good. You can get your money back, but surely you don't want the dog food back. And as we chatted, we decided the greatest thing to do with this unwanted bag of dog food for her customers would be to ask the customer simply to drop the bag off at the local RSPCA. And so we included that in her terms and conditions. I will give you your money back 100%, no questions asked, if you drop the bag off at the local RSPCA. And we debated whether or not the client needed to, send a photo of them doing it. And in the end, we decided, no, we'll just trust them. We don't actually know what they're going to do with the bag of food. They might throw it away, whatever. But that wasn't the point of the term. The point of the term was to show, one, that she's generous, two, that she really cares about animals, and three, that you can trust her, because she's not going to benefit if you don't want that bag of dog food, and she's asking you to give it away, and plus you'll get your money back. And since we changed her terms to include that, she never had any requests for refunds. So you can see by these stories that when you do terms and conditions, you can really use them to foster good relationships with your clients. But the other thing that's really interesting about terms and conditions and important to include in terms and conditions is if you get any problems, recurring problems, or things that sometimes go wrong in your industry or in your business, future-proof your business by including those in the terms. So I have a client who is he's an electrician, that's right, and he installs big fridges and freezers for supermarkets like Woolworths and Coles. And he found that he was getting recalled to come and look at fridges and freezers by the same customers continuously. And what he found was that the customers sometimes didn't know that, or didn't realize that there's an air intake near part of the fridges, and you have to keep that air intake clear. You can't pack boxes up against it, because if you do, it gets really hot, and then the fridge or the freezer overheats, and then it kills the motor. So that's pretty serious. And people were complaining about his work when it wasn't his work or his parts, it was the way they were caring for the equipment after he installed it. So we changed his terms and conditions to say that people had to care for whatever he had installed, and then he would give them some instructions like keeping the airway clear and that kind of thing. And that change to those terms and conditions had obviously the added benefit of people not making claims when it was their own fault for ruining the machinery. But the other benefit was that the machinery actually lasted longer. So people loved him more because they thought, well, now he's a better electrician, because when he puts the equipment in, it doesn't break down. The little motor doesn't wear out or overheat. So if there's anything like that in your business that you need to capture, it's a good idea to capture it in the terms and conditions. Another example would be, for example, if you are a business coach or any kind of coach. So you're teaching somebody how to be good on social media, or you're teaching people about creating publicity, anything like that, to put into your terms and conditions what you expect the client to do. My clients, I've got quite a lot of clients who are coaches, and one thing they found was that once people sign up, sometimes they actually expect to, somehow gain the knowledge and skills and experience without doing very much. And so for one client I'm thinking of in particular, Judy, what we did with her terms is that we actually put some minimum things in there that we expected her clients to do. So it might have been reviewing their business once every second week, following the action plan that she set out for them, or making a note if they couldn't follow it and why they couldn't follow it. So setting out very clear expectations. Suddenly, not only were Judy's clients actually succeeding in what she was teaching them a whole lot more, because they were actually following her program properly, but they loved her more for it because they were clear on what their commitment was. And she did get a few people who didn't actually sign up. They went, oh no, I don't have time to commit to this. But that was perfect for both Judy and her clients, because now she wasn't getting people signing up who weren't in the right place to work with her. So your terms and conditions can sometimes also act a little bit as a filter to make sure that you're getting the right people. Because if you're not getting the right people, that's when you start to get complaints and people get unhappy. So we've discussed having terms and conditions is really important. Having them written down is really important. And a question I get asked is whether you should or whether you can just use standard terms and conditions from the internet. I have dealt with that in another video, which I will post up on the same module so that you've got all the information together. I've put out very clearly there why I think that's not a good idea, and you can be doing yourself more harm than good if you do that. If you find that you don't want to work with a lawyer, or you're not at that stage yet where you've got sufficient funds to work with a lawyer, honestly, writing down some bullet points and creating your terms in words that you understand and that your clients will understand is a very, very good starting point. And it needs to be a living, breathing document. So modify it as things happen. So, for example, you might decide you are not going to offer a refund, and then people get unhappy. So you change that a bit. As your business changes and grows, your terms should change and grow. And you'll see how things work. And if they don't work, then you can modify things slightly. Obviously, ideally, I always believe that it's a good idea for every small business owner to make friends with a lawyer. Because if you've got a lawyer who you're friends with, not that they're going to go and do work for you for free, but they get to know you and know your business, and then they can create terms that reflect you, your personality, your ethics, and exactly how your business works. I recently got a new client who had fired her previous lawyer, who she basically hated. And I asked her, well, what went wrong? And she said the previous lawyer had no understanding of what it was that she did. So it's very important to make sure that when you're getting somebody to draft terms and conditions for you, that they really understand not only your industry, but actually how your particular business works. And if you get some terms and conditions that don't actually, that you can't understand, you're not sure what they mean, then that's not really going to work well for your business. You need to make sure that you understand the terms and your clients can easily understand the terms as well. And in the case of this new client of mine who fired her lawyer, she said when she asked them to explain to her what the terms meant, they got angry with her and treated her like an idiot. So she was clever enough to go, you know what? You're not the right lawyers for me, because you're not doing me any favors. I mean, if you can't understand what your terms say, how are you ever going to enforce them? How are you ever going to explain them to your clients? So terms and conditions are important. Have them in writing so that there's no misunderstanding, but make them clear and easy to understand. All the best with your terms and conditions.